Before your next flight, pause for a moment. That ordinary backpack you carry could now contain items quietly added to the global airline blacklist. In 2025, aviation safety authorities have tightened the rules again, and not because of bureaucracy, but because of data. The world's carriers from the United States to Asia and Europe are reacting to a surge in in-flight fire incidents caused by consumer electronics, lithium batteries, and innocent travel gadgets. Across airports, officers have begun confiscating things passengers once considered harmless. Cordless hair tools, replacement batteries, even protein powder or aluminum-wrapped snacks. Each new restriction tells a story. A lesson learned from a fire at 35,000 feet, an emergency diversion, or a multi-million-dollar insurance payout. Behind the public warning signs lies a vast safety algorithm balancing profit, liability, and passenger behavior. This investigation exposes the 13 ordinary items that can now get you stopped at security, the real reasons they're considered dangerous, and how airlines are quietly redesigning cabin policies to cut both risk and cost. Think you know what's safe to pack? You might be wrong. Picture this. You're mid-flight, your phone battery hits 1%, and you instinctively reach for your power bank. It seems harmless, until you realize that action alone could now violate airline policy. In May 2025, Southwest Airlines, followed by several major carriers, rolled out stricter regulations that forbid charging devices when the power bank is hidden inside a seat pocket or backpack. The reason sounds dramatic but is brutally logical. The cabin crew must see every battery in case it bursts into flames. The numbers justify the paranoia. In 2024, the FAA logged 89 separate lithium battery overheating incidents, a 16% jump from the year before, nearly 2 potential fires every week. Once a cell enters thermal runaway, the heat builds uncontrollably until it explodes. There is no easy way to extinguish such a blaze in midair. That's why airlines now enforce magic numbers. If your power bank's energy rating is 100 watt-hours or less, you're fine. Between 101 and 160 watt-hours, you need airline approval and may carry only 2. Anything higher is confiscated on the spot. It's not just a safety rule, it's a financial firewall. Every onboard fire triggers costly diversions, insurance claims, and brand damage that can erase months of profit. Airlines are quietly investing in predictive risk systems that track cabin temperature fluctuations, battery density, and passenger behavior. The new goal is visible control, preventing unseen heat before it becomes catastrophe. For passengers, compliance is simple. Check the watt-hour rating, out of weight, SHASH or VXA, pack all batteries in your carry-on, and if you charge them, keep them in plain sight. Each watt-hour rule, each minor inspection reflects an industry learning from hard-earned lessons. Proof that safety isn't a slogan, but an evolving algorithm guarding every flight in the digital age. Let's move from gadgets to something far more personal. Your hair tools. That cordless curling iron or straightener tucked neatly into your check bag might look innocent. But to an airline safety officer, it's a small portable hazard. There are 3 distinct types of cordless hair tools, and each is governed by a different set of rules that can confuse even the most frequent flyer. First, butane-powered devices. These operate using small gas cartridges and are strictly forbidden in checked luggage. Butane is highly flammable, and at cruising altitude, pressure changes can turn that tiny canister into an explosion risk. You may carry one tool in your hand luggage, but only if the heating element is covered with a safety cap, and you cannot bring any spare fuel cartridges. If security spots a refill, it's confiscated immediately. Next are lithium-ion-powered tools, the most common type today. These fall under the same restrictions as power banks. They must stay in your carry-on. If you want to check them, you must remove the battery first and carry that separately. A logistical nightmare if you're packing light. The fear is simple. A lithium battery overheating in the cargo hold can smolder undetected until it's too late. Finally, there's the classic corded iron, the only truly safe option. No gas, no battery, no problem. It can go in either bag without concern. What seems like a beauty essential has become a case study in risk engineering. Airlines aren't just policing fashion. They're managing probabilities. turning passenger habits into data points that keep the cabin fire-free. When in doubt, go corded. It's the one travel decision that's guaranteed to stay cool at 35,000 feet. The numbers justify the paranoia. In 2024, the FAA logged 89 separate lithium battery overheating incidents, a 16% jump from the year before, nearly 2 potential fires every week. Once a cell enters thermal runaway, the heat builds uncontrollably until it explodes. There is no easy way to extinguish such a blaze in midair. That's why airlines now enforce magic numbers. If your power bank's energy rating is 100 watt-hours or less, you're fine. Between 101 and 160 WUR, you need airline approval and may carry only 2. Anything higher is confiscated on the spot. It's not just a safety rule, it's a financial firewall. Every onboard fire triggers costly diversions, insurance claims, and brand damage that can erase months of profit. Airlines are quietly investing in predictive risk systems that track cabin temperature fluctuations, battery density, and passenger behavior. The new goal is visible control, preventing unseen heat before it becomes catastrophe. For passengers, compliance is simple. Check the watt-hour rating, VXA, pack all batteries in your carry-on, and if you charge them, keep them in plain sight. Each watt-hour rule, each minor inspection, reflects an industry learning from hard-earned lessons. Proof that safety isn't a slogan, but an evolving algorithm guarding every flight in the digital age. Now let's talk about the batteries that power your favorite tech. Those little rectangles of energy most travelers buy online without a second thought. Cheap replacement batteries for cameras, drones, or vapes may look harmless, but a missing label can turn them into contraband. The FAA's rule is unambiguous. Every lithium battery must display its watt-hour (WH) rating. No printed number means no flight. Here's where things get tricky. Many third-party manufacturers, especially on e-commerce sites, skip proper labeling to cut costs. The result? You end up with a battery that works perfectly fine, but is illegal to fly with. TSA agents are trained to spot this. If they can't find the watt-hour marking, they're required to confiscate it regardless of its actual size or voltage. There's no appeal at the gate, no time to argue or repack. The most common casualties of this rule are spare camera batteries, vape batteries, and power tool cells. Travelers are often caught off guard when their bags are pulled aside for manual inspection. Every minute they spend arguing with an agent ripples through the entire security line. A chain reaction of frustration built on one missing label. The workaround is simple but non-negotiable. Buy from reputable brands like Canon, Sony, or Anchor, who follow FAA standards. Take a clear photo of the watt-hour rating before your trip. That small act of preparation can save hundreds of dollars in confiscated gear and a lot of stress. Airlines aren't being pedantic. They're closing loopholes in a system that once relied on trust. In aviation, the label is the law. Once marketed as the future of convenient travel, smart luggage has quietly become a regulatory nightmare. Those sleek suitcases with built-in GPS, USB chargers, and tracking apps now sit in a gray zone between innovation and hazard. The culprit? They're non-removable lithium batteries. What was once a selling point has turned into a liability that airlines can no longer ignore. Today, nearly every major U.S. carrier enforces a version of the same rule. If the battery cannot be removed, the bag cannot fly in the cargo hold. American Airlines demands removal before check-in. Delta allows it in the cabin only if the battery stays attached and visible. United bans all smart bags with fixed batteries from the hold entirely. The inconsistency is maddening. A suitcase cleared on your outbound flight could be rejected on the return trip by another airline. The most chaotic scenario plays out at the gate. Imagine the overhead bins are full, and the agent insists you check your carry-on. If it's a smart bag, you'll find yourself on the jet bridge, sweating, trying to extract a battery that was never meant to come out, while a line of impatient passengers forms behind you. Some designs even require special tools to detach the power unit, creating a public spectacle of stress and embarrassment. Behind the scenes, this isn't just about fire prevention. It's about cost control and liability management. Each mid-air battery incident forces airlines to file safety reports, pay inspection fees, and face insurance surcharges. Banning non-removable batteries simplifies accountability. The new travel rule of thumb is blunt but effective. If it doesn't pop out, don't pack it. Smart luggage promised efficiency, but in this guy's risk-averse economy, smart now means removable. Drones once symbolized the freedom of travel, the promise of capturing sweeping aerial shots of beaches, mountains, and cities. But to airlines, they represent one of the most tightly controlled fire risks in the modern cabin. The drone itself isn't the problem. It's the high-density lithium batteries that power it. These cells can deliver bursts of energy strong enough to lift a machine and to ignite one. According to FAA and IATA guidelines, spare drone batteries are strictly forbidden in checked luggage. If you pack your drone in a suitcase, you must remove the battery and carry it with you. Even then, the watt-hour thresholds remain the same. Under 100 watt is fine. 101, 160 watt-hour requires pre-approval from the airline and limits you to 2 spares. Anything higher is banned outright. But there's another layer, battery terminal protection. To prevent short circuits, every exposed contact must be insulated. That means keeping batteries in their original boxes, fireproof LiPo bags, or even taped securely at both ends. Loose batteries rattling around in a backpack are a guaranteed confiscation. Airlines also recommend discharging drone batteries to 30–50% capacity before flying. A fully charged cell is far more volatile under pressure. These precautions may sound tedious, but the logic is clear. A single overheated battery in the cargo hold could turn a minor delay into an emergency landing, costing hundreds of thousands of dollars. For travelers, understanding these details isn't optional anymore. It's survival knowledge in the age of electrified flight. So before your next adventure, check the watt-hour rating, pack every battery in protective casing, and fly smart. The best drone footage in the world isn't worth the risk of seeing your bag doused in fire-suppressant foam at 35,000 feet. From cutting-edge gadgets to something as ordinary as powder, airline scrutiny doesn't discriminate. Since 2018, any powder-like substance exceeding 12 ounces, roughly 350 grams, in your carry-on is automatically subject to secondary screening. What began as a quiet anti-terrorism measure has become a daily source of frustration for travelers worldwide. Protein powder, instant coffee, flour, baby formula, even makeup, all look identical to explosive compounds on an X-ray. When TSA agents can't identify what a powder is, they are authorized to dispose of it on the spot. There's no appeal, no chance to move it into checked luggage once you've reached the security gate. The rule applies most aggressively on international inbound flights to the U.S., where threat detection systems are calibrated to flag fine particles and organic compounds. A container of whey protein or matcha that breezed through security in Tokyo or Paris might be dumped without hesitation upon landing in Los Angeles. The fix is practical but unglamorous. Pack large powder containers in your checked bag or transfer small portions into separate containers under the 12-ounce limit. It's a small trade-off for a smoother experience. And a reminder that modern aviation security now treats everyday groceries like controlled chemicals. The skies may be open, but every scoop of powder you carry tells a story about how deeply safety has reshaped even the simplest parts of travel. Now picture this. You've packed your homemade sandwich perfectly, wrapped neatly in aluminum foil to keep it fresh for the flight. At security, it looks innocent, but to the X-ray scanner, it's a solid block of mystery. Aluminum foil blocks X-rays completely, creating a dark, opaque blob on the monitor. The operator can't tell if it's lunch or a potential threat. That uncertainty means one thing, manual inspection. Your bag gets pulled, your food unwrapped by gloved hands, and your careful packing undone. Every foil-wrapped meal slows down the line, frustrates agents, and exposes your food to airport air and bacteria. What feels like a harmless convenience quickly becomes a contamination and logistics issue. Security logic is simple. If they can't see it, they can't clear it. That's why airports have quietly begun advising passengers to avoid foil altogether for homemade meals. Transparent containers or resealable plastic bags allow X-rays to penetrate cleanly, revealing exactly what's inside. In aviation's data-driven age, even sandwiches are part of the safety equation. The fewer unknowns and agent faces, the faster the flow of passengers, and the lower the operational cost for the airline. Sometimes the difference between chaos and calm at security is as small as swapping foil for plastic. A simple lighter, one of the world's most common pocket tools, divides airport security like few other items. You can board a plane with a regular disposable lighter or even a Zippo. But if that lighter produces a blue jet flame, you've crossed into banned territory. The TSA classifies torch lighters and plasma arc lighters as potential weapons. The reason is heat. A torch lighter burns at temperatures above 2,500 Celsius, while 370 degrees Celsius, hot enough to melt plastic, scorch metal, or compromise aircraft materials. The concentrated flame isn't just a fire hazard, it's an engineering concern. TSA officials describe it as a pinpoint welding tool disguised as a lighter. That's why torch-style lighters are prohibited in both carry-on and checked bags, regardless of cost or brand. It makes no difference whether it's a $5 market gadget or a $500 collector's piece. Both are confiscated. In contrast, the standard lighter is viewed as manageable risk. Its soft flame is small, visible, and quickly extinguished. The irony is clear. What you use to light a candle on the ground can look like a controlled explosion in the air. So when packing for your next trip, keep it simple. Choose the disposable, not the torch. Safety, and your luggage will thank you for it. Among the strangest bans on the aviation list sits a household staple few travelers expect: aerosol cooking spray. Unlike hairspray or deodorant, which are allowed in limited quantities under the 311 liquids rule, cooking sprays such as PAM are forbidden in both carry-on and checked baggage. The reason isn't the oil itself, but the highly flammable propellants used to push it out of the can. The FAA draws a hard line between personal care aerosols and household use aerosols. The first category, deodorants, shaving cream, medical sprays, has special exemptions because they're used directly on the body and in tiny bursts. The second, which includes paint, WD-40, and cooking spray, falls under hazardous materials. In the event of a cabin pressure change or cargo fire, those propellants could ignite explosively. This absolute ban often catches travelers staying in rental homes or Airbnbs off guard. Many pack cooking spray to save time when preparing meals abroad, only to watch it confiscated at check-in. The fix is easy. Switch to a non-aerosol pump mister or buy cooking spray locally once you arrive. In aviation safety, even convenience has a cost. The same can that makes breakfast faster can turn a cargo hold into a potential flashpoint. And no airline is willing to take that chance. Few holiday traditions cause as much airport confusion as Christmas crackers. Those festive table favors that pop open with a snap. Inside each one is a tiny chemically treated paper strip called a cracker snap, the source of that satisfying explosion of sound. To the TSA and most international regulators, that strip is classified as a pyrotechnic device, placing it in the same category as fireworks and sparklers. The result, an outright ban on all flights to, from, or within the United States. No matter how decorative or sentimental they are, you can't bring them in checked luggage or carry-on. The rules abroad are a chaotic patchwork. British Airways allows up to two boxes in checked baggage. EasyJet lets you carry them on board. Air France, KLM, and Emirates follow the U.S. approach and ban them completely. The confusion often ruins well-intentioned travel plans. A passenger can legally fly from London to Paris with Christmas crackers, only to have them confiscated on the connecting flight to New York. Inconsistent enforcement has turned a holiday ritual into a minor diplomatic headache. The safe workaround is simple. Ship them separately to your destination or buy local versions once you arrive. In an era of global aviation risk management, even celebration must pass a safety audit. Joy, it seems, travels on paper wings. Cheese shouldn't be controversial, yet to airport security, it's a surprisingly tricky substance. The TSA draws its line not by flavor, but by texture. If you can spread it, it's considered a liquid. That means creamy brie, camembert, goat cheese, and tubs of cream cheese all fall under the 3.4-ounce 100 ml limit and must fit inside your quart-sized liquids bag. A solid block of cheddar or Parmesan, completely fine, no matter the weight. The reasoning comes down to imaging. On an X-ray, a dense, solid like Parmesan shows up clearly, while a soft cheese looks semi-opaque, similar to gels or paste that can conceal prohibited items. The same logic now applies to peanut butter, hummus, and even thick dips. Anything with a smooth, spreadable consistency triggers liquid restrictions. For international travelers, this rule often leads to disappointment at customs when artisan cheese is tossed away, mistaken for a potential security threat. Agents aren't being cruel. They're following a machine-driven risk protocol. The solution is simple but unappetizing. Pack only hard cheeses in your carry-on and put the creamy delights in your checked luggage. The irony is striking. A wheel of brie poses no danger until it meets airport logic. But in the data-driven age of aviation, consistency doesn't describe the cheese anymore. It defines the policy. Now to one of the most misunderstood rules in airport security, the medical liquid exemption. Everyone knows about the 311 limit. Liquids under 3.4 ounces packed in a single quart-sized bag. But what most travelers don't realize is that medically necessary liquids, gels, and aerosols are exempt from that cap. Prescription syrup, contact lens solution, saline, insulin, or even juice packs for diabetics. All can legally exceed the limit if handled correctly. The key word, however, is declared. TSA officers must be told about these items before screening. You need to remove them from your bag and place them separately, not hidden among toiletries. Trying to slip them through undetected almost guarantees confiscation. Agents are required to swab or test the liquids to confirm they're safe. When travelers fail to declare, the inspection turns into a confrontation, one that's easily avoided with a moment of transparency. The same leniency applies to medical devices such as syringes, insulin pumps, or cooling gel packs used to preserve medication. Even if the ice packs are partially melted, they're acceptable as long as they accompany a legitimate medical item. The rule is based on reasonableness. The quantity should match the length of your trip. For international flyers, keeping medicines in their original label containers or carrying a doctor's note can save hours of questioning. Airlines and regulators aren't heartless. They're enforcing a system that must distinguish between care and concealment. The passenger who prepares documentation becomes the one who breezes through security, while everyone else is still arguing about ounces. Knowledge in this case isn't power, it's permission. Every modern battery rule traces its lineage back to one notorious device, the Samsung Galaxy Note 7. In 2016, after a string of explosions caused by its lithium-ion battery, the FAA did something unprecedented. It issued an emergency order banning the phone from all U.S. flights, both checked and carry-on. It was the first time a single consumer product had been declared a forbidden hazardous material. The Note 7 became aviation's cautionary tale. Videos of scorched seats and smoke-filled cabins went viral, and the phrase thermal runaway entered public vocabulary. For regulators, it was proof that even the world's biggest tech companies could underestimate chemical volatility. Within months, airlines across the globe rewrote their safety manuals, redesigned crew training, and overhauled protocols for personal electronics. Years later, the ghost of that phone still lingers. Flight attendants are trained to recognize it by sight, and every update to FAA and AIDA battery policy stems from that crisis. The new restrictions on power banks, drones, and cordless tools aren't random. They're direct descendants of the Note 7 disaster. The lesson was brutal but necessary. At 35,000 feet, there is no margin for error. What starts as a tiny spark in a smartphone can become a cabin-wide emergency in seconds. The Note 7 didn't just burn, it rewired the world's definition of safety. The key word, however, is declared. TSA officers must be told about these items before screening. You need to remove them from your bag and place them separately, not hidden among toiletries. Trying to slip them through undetected almost guarantees confiscation. Agents are required to swab or test the liquids to confirm they're safe. When travelers fail to declare, the inspection turns into a confrontation, one that's easily avoided with a moment of transparency. The same leniency applies to medical devices such as syringes, insulin pumps, or cooling gel packs used to preserve medication. Even if the ice packs are partially melted, they're acceptable as long as they accompany a legitimate medical item. The rule is based on reasonableness. The quantity should match the length of your trip. For international flyers, keeping medicines in their original label containers or carrying a doctor's note can save hours of questioning. Airlines and regulators aren't heartless. They're enforcing a system that must distinguish between care and concealment. The passenger who prepares documentation becomes the one who breezes through security, while everyone else is still arguing about ounces. Knowledge in this case isn't power, it's permission.